Hey guys, this is Richard Wygand A Dad on a mission with your daily core. So, just for people that don't know, core is it's a methodology that I created because when you are an athlete, you are always optimizing yourself. You're always looking for the best nutrition. What can I do different? Something more efficient. What can I do better? And that's how my methodology came into play, which I use for many different things. But core means change, optimize, reconnect, and exceed. Because the truth is, I believe there is, we can't talk about performance or success or whatever you want to call uh, without taking the mind, the body, and the soul separate. Like they all work together. So, like you need to optimize things, we need to change what is not working. And we always need to be connected with our true selves, which is something that I'm going to talk about today about overcoming with a higher purpose. Just so you guys all know, the daily core is something that I intend to do at least 5 times a week. So it's a way to inspire and motivate other individuals to get healthy, to you know uh, challenge themselves, and either way, to just find a better way of life and things like that. So what I'm going to talk about today is overcoming with a higher purpose. So when for people that don't know, like I done at 18 Ironmans, 16 of them I think as a professional. I was 260 pounds in 2003 when I decided to change my life. I was smoking a pack of cigarettes a day, and one day I came to senses like this is not what I want. So I started to race. I raced for 12 years, and then I retired from racing after my son was born. And when my son was born, he unexpectedly came with a rare muscle condition. And I'm not gonna lie, I for a long time I felt bad about myself, and I actually felt guilty. I felt like all kinds of things, and I couldn't understand how two triathletes, because my wife was a triathlete too, and she actually was a badass triathlete with a state champion in Brazil back in 2005 or 2004. Either way, like heads down for her because she was an amazing triathlete. But here we are, like two triathletes having a kid with a rare muscle condition. So I felt bad, for a while I felt like, why me? I had panic attacks. I have all kinds of crazy stuff happening. I gained weight, and until I started to shift my mindset to the point of like, hey, why not me? Because I started to put it together of like, listen, if you think about it, with the background that I have, with the experience that I have from nutrition, coaching, and all that, having a special needs child with a muscle condition is actually a blessing, because who better than me and my wife to take care of him, like to get muscle to help him improve with his muscle condition. So that being said, back in 2017, 2017, he was about 1 year and a bit. Uh, I decided to do a 200-mile pedal boarding to raise awareness for his condition. And the pedal boarding didn't happen yet because the amount of cost that it comes to do something like that, I actually had to postpone. And plus, on that time, we were in the middle of a move from Florida to Colorado, so I decided just to do 24-hour pedalboarding, which I did. I ended up doing, I think, like 63 and a little bit miles in 24 hours. That was my first 24 hours ever. I was used to with doing Ironmans, and which is like for me under 10 hours I was done, so I had to deal with discomfort for 14 more hours. So that was pretty interesting. But But my point is, like, I did the 24 hours pedal boarding, the 200 miles, because I didn't raise enough, not even uh, to cover my cost. I have to postpone it, of course. This is something that is still out there. And I'm planning to do, as long as I can get the foundings and stuff. I'm planning to do in probably 2020 or 2021, especially because then my son will be a little bit more a little bit stronger by then, so it's probably going to be easier to manage. And plus, like, we don't know if it's the second kid is going to come in or to play or not yet, so that's something that the future will hold for us. But anyways, so I did that, and then we moved to Colorado. And now, like, when I got here in Colorado, everything was new, and I was thinking, like, maybe I should, change my area of work. And because I've been coaching since 2006, and I actually consider myself a better coach than actually athlete. But like, I try to pursue other things, and then I was like, no, that's not where my passion is. And I deal with a lot. But when we were in Florida still, right before to do this, to do the paddleboarding, I actually had the idea of, I actually promised, like, on November, it was November 17th, I promised my son that we will run together, at least once, even if I had to carry both machines. So I had this idea right before we moved on how to put the machines into the stroller and run with him. When we got in Colorado, like I said, I tried to maybe switch my area of work. I tried to do other things, but I always been drawn into the fitness world, and I love it. It's my passion. So I decided to put that project into play. I decided to make it happen, which you can watch the video on my YouTube channel. It's called I Made a Promise for My Son. And so we ran our first 5K together. And when we ran, I noticed how happy he was, and how happy he was making people around him. And then I was like, I think that was my reconnection moment, because I felt really good about it. And I felt good of him, because he was so happy, smiling and waving for people. So I decided to start running again. And since then, we did 3 5Ks and 1 10K, which is pretty amazing. But during all this, and during my reconnection with the sport, and with everything else, I came with the idea of, like, to do a team with a higher purpose. So I created this endurance focused team that we usually work more with running and triathlon, a little bit of CrossFit as well. Which, by the way, I gotta do rowing marathon next week. It is gonna be live on Facebook and in YouTube. We're gonna row 42 and 195 meters for the Malay myopathy. But anyways, so that reconnection brought me to rebuild my team. So I started to rebuild my triathlon team, which back in the days used to be called RW Training. And so now I'm rebuilding my triathlon team. I still have a lot of people racing with me, but I'm rebuilding, and I made it an ambassador project as well for people that wants to race for the cause. And also, you can, if you don't want to be an ambassador, you can just race for us with the Richard Wygand Foundation. But anyways, I brought that back into my life, and I'm overcoming all this with a higher purpose, and that's how I decided to call the Team Higher Purpose. So we are racing for a purpose, to raise awareness for uh, muscle conditions, and also to help families, because that's one thing that happened. Like I helped two families when I opened the foundation, and it actually felt really good. I felt good about helping others, but also when I did my first event for something bigger than myself, which was the 30-mile stand-up paddleboarder from he was from where was it from West Palm Beach, Lake Worth, West Palm Beach, to uh, what's the name? It was like right at the beginning of Fort Lauderdale. So it was 30 miles. But the joy that I felt knowing that, I was helping other people and creating awareness for my son's condition felt really, really good. And then I started to thinking like, okay, if I'm gonna rebuild this triathlon team, I want to rebuild with a higher purpose, or for something bigger than myself. But also I wanted to give people, athletes, that like to actually feel the same way I felt, feel the same way of that fulfilling, meaningful, not just because you finish something hard, but because you also finish something hard with a higher purpose. And for me, this is like the greatest feeling in the world that you can ever imagine. It was when I did a 30-mile stand-up paddle. It was way better than any Ironman I ever felt in my life. Now, I gotta say that crossing the finish line of the 5K was even beyond that. But, like I understand that not everybody can run with a kid. And I understand also that not everybody wants to. But if they really want to do a boost of performance, like doing something for bigger than yourself, that's the best uh, boost performance you can ever had in your life. So that's when I said like, what, RW training, it's back, baby. RW training is back at a full power, but with a higher purpose now, way higher purpose, and more fulfillment, and more things coming up with the ambassador team, uh, coming up with with the the foundation itself, doing events. Like I said, I'm doing the rowing marathon next week. That it's gonna hurt a little bit. My 35,000 meters the other day was hard, but either way, so that's when I started to overcome all that guilt, all that stuff that I had in my mind that I thought it was actually a bad thing when it was actually a good thing. And that's one thing I always talk about. It don't, like when to change your mindset from why me to why not me. Like this is meant to be. This is a challenge that I have to accept. And like it's like I posted on the like I say every day, everybody's have challenge. Everybody have challenge. Doesn't matter what. You look at a person at Home Depot, you look at a person at supermarket, they all go through some sort of challenge. They all go through. Some of them are visible and some of them are not. Like my son, you look at him, you can clearly see his challenges. You can clearly see. But you might not see my challenge, but I have a lot of challenge as well. I have a challenge of fatherhood. I have a challenge as an athlete. I have a challenge as a business owner. I have all sorts of challenges. And the same thing with my son. Like I said, some challenges are visible, some are not. But I realized that by challenging ourselves physically, we can help the ones that are physically challenged. We can help families. We can help create awareness. Because who knows, like the medicine and technology is growing so fast lately. You never know when a treatment or a medicine or something can come and help many other families that have some type of muscle conditions. Also, like one of the works that we do in our foundation, it's to help families in general. Because I noticed with me, like when I was feeling down and I gained weight, and like I didn't have a whole lot of energy, I started to think like, dude, my son needs me physically, like, and I can be the muscles and he can be the brain, because his brain is intact and the kid is super smart. It's crazy, but I can be the muscles, but he needs me healthy and stronger. So that's when I joined a CrossFit, to be like, hey, you know what? I can be a better father if I take care of myself. And that's one thing that we do for special needs families in our foundation. Is like, any special need family, like, we focus on the physical, because physical disability, you're going to require to carry your kid. You're going to require to do a lot of things that, if you're not in any type of shape or form or fitness level to do that, it's going to be really hard. And there's one thing, like, I noticed, is like, my son, he started to get heavy, and when I was out of shape, I I started to have a little bit of back pain to carry him and stuff like that. So like, this needs to change, and like I said, like, he needs me physically there. So we do offer this to our foundation, to all the families, special needs family, that they do want to change and get healthy. That's one service that we offer to our foundation. But like, this is the way I found it to overcome that guilt that I had for a long time. Like, after he was born, I felt down and stuff like that. So when I realized that, when I changed the mindset of why me to why not me, and start doing something for a higher purpose, that's where my healing and my reconnection with myself came back again. And that's when the higher purpose team came into play. And like I said, we're opening up now for ambassadors. And one thing, like, I always thought about, when you are an athlete, I think you should be loyal to your coach and to your club and things like that. So what I created on this in this project on the team is like, yes, we want you to raise awareness, we want you to raise for us. But if you do have a coach and if you do have a club, we extremely suggest you to actually to actually use the uniform team. Okay, we actually what we do is, we will give you just the logo. Like, we put the logo on your uniform, and you can still show it to use your coach logo. You can also use your coach logo. You can also use your club uniform. That's what we want. We want, like, we don't need you to use only on our uniform. What we want is you to be active and saying like, hey, I'm doing this for a higher purpose, but at the same time, like, I'm loyal to my coach and my club. So that's the thing that I noticed too. When I was an athlete, like, a lot of those ambassadors programs, they're like, well, we want you to race with our uniform, but like, hey, like, there's so much more involved on me getting to that finish line than just racing for for the ambassador team. Like, I have a coach, I have some people, like, I had sponsors on that time, so you have sponsors and things like that. So that's the really, really cool thing that I decided to make, and to make sure that it's out there. It's like, if you become an ambassador for our team, you can still, and you should, use your coach logos. Even if you want to get the uniform from us and we place the logo, your coach logo, your club logo in it, or vice versa, because I think it's very important to show it to people. Like, who are you around, who actually support you on this idea. Doesn't matter if it's your coach, doesn't matter if it's your club, doesn't matter if it's your gym or anything like that. I think it's very important to recognize. And then as a coach, I totally understand that and totally support that. It's not like you don't need to be coached by me. All we want is you to help us raise awareness, and also we want you to have that feeling of doing something bigger than yourself. And that's one thing, like if you didn't hear my other my other podcast with Graham, the guy who's actually the CrossFit owner of the of where we're gonna do the rowing marathon, we talk about this, and then I told him, like, you see, like the feeling that you get from doing something bigger than yourself is just like beyond amazing. And it's the greatest feeling. I feel like it's the greatest feeling in the world. And like I said, I could trade all my 18 Ironmans to cross the finish line with my son, or doing something bigger than myself. And the funny thing is, I like the other day, I think a lot, and a lot of the times like meditate, and like memories come up and things like that. And I remember on the season of 2014, I actually wrote on my uniform the famous oh my god, the famous sentence that Mahatma Gandhi said. It's like, be the change that you wish to see in the world. And I raced the whole season with that, and I really wanted to create a foundation at that time, but I didn't know what, why, or how. I wanted to do a non-profit organization, and the universe gave me this gift that it's my son, that like it's a foundation that I can totally relate with. I have like an insane connection with that kid, like since day one. Like Luke was born, like people might think this is sad, but like he was born with respiratory distress, and he came out like really floppy. And when he came out, and they started begging him, and they actually did cardiac resuscitation with him to kind of make sure that he was being oxygenated. And he got in right before he was intubated, like this was within 45 seconds he was born. The doula that was there with us, she looked to me, she's like, he needs a familiar voice. So I went to him and said, like, Dad is here. And he literally grabbed my finger like this, and that was the only movement he did for this next 72 hours. So that connection, that bonding that I had with him right there and then, like it just made this foundation, and just made this purpose of raising awareness, and to help families with physical challenges even bigger. So like I said, like the connection I have with him, the passion that I have for fitness, and my passion to help others. Like I said, I consider myself a better coach and a better athlete, and because like I just love, like when I see my athletes racing out there, like it's almost feel like I am racing with them. And then so I was able to translate all this into this non-profitable organization, where I created inside of that non-profit organization there is a team for a higher purpose. So that's why the name is called Higher Purpose Team, and like Team Higher Purpose, because I also consider myself and my son a team. Like I said, running with him, and seeing the people's reaction when we're running together, and to see his reaction when we run together, it's beyond amazing. Like carrying that stroller is not an easy task, because right now he's 30 pounds and the machines is another 20 pounds together. So to balance out the shoulder, it's a little harder, but boy, the joy that he gets, the joy that I get, and the joy that people around us get, like come back we come from the end of the race and we start motivating each other, and it's just like an amazing feeling. And like I said, it's something that I can share with the world, something that I can, provide people to feel this way, like people to do something bigger than themselves, and to help other families that are in need, because there's so much that goes behind a special needs family that people don't realize, like advocating for your kid, fighting for your therapies, all this medical stress that you normally have. Then you have to deal with him being a 2-year-old, like you got to deal with all that stuff. But, like it's like I said, it's an amazing feeling. It's meant to be. And I think people that ever met Luke, you can see that Luke, it's like a beyond an amazing kid. And, like I said, it was such a reconnection in time for me to be able to connect my passion with a cause, and a cause that comes from my heart. So check it out. I encourage you to check it out. My website is go Luke Wygand .foundation, is go Luke WYGAND .foundation. And just check it out, the higher purpose team. If you ever want to race for us, or if you ever want to become an ambassador, we are closing the ambassador applications for the 2019 season. But like if you ever want to feel that way, or if you ever want to do something for bigger than yourself, or if you just want to cheers us on, or whatever it is. But the lesson that I got from all of this, it's like you can overcome pretty much anything in your life, especially with a purpose. Like the most important thing is your why. Is the why you are doing things, not for what you're doing or what you do. It's because of why you do it. That's the most important question you can ask yourself. Like, why am I doing this? Like it's the same thing when I first changed my life back in 2003. It's like, why I'm doing this? I'm doing this because there was a dream of mine since I was a kid. Like when I remember when I was a little kid, I was playing basketball. I had all this dream of going to the NBA. People laugh at me, and I had these dreams of being a professional athlete. And then I tried to be a professional skateboarder. I didn't try to be a professional skateboarder. I just like loved skateboarding. I was like, okay, maybe if people think that basketball is not for me, maybe skateboarding is gonna be for me. But I never had that passion about it. I had a passion about being an athlete, but I didn't have like that real passion about it until I met triathlon. That's like when I met actually Ironman, because Ironman for me was more. I joined a triathlon just to do an Ironman. That this is something we can talk about another podcast. But I fell in love with Ironman, and I found in Ironman a way to realize my dream, a dream that I had since I was a kid. So there you go. Like to overcome things, to overcome challenges in your life, it's very important to know your why. It's very important to have your purpose. I had my purpose before, and I realized that dream. I made that dream come true when I became an athlete. For 12 years, I eat, breathe, sleep, triathlon. I made my life as a professional athlete. I made my way as a professional athlete. I made that dream. That's my purpose. And one of my purpose too is to coach people to get to that. Now I'm overcame another set of challenge with a higher purpose, and my highest purpose now, it's actually my son, to help him out. not only coaching him to exercises and stuff like that, because that's something I do. I create things for him. He has his own little gym on his room that, modify exercise and things like that. But the most important was my purpose, and then now I have a much higher purpose. So check it out. Go look Wygand.foundation, and I hope to see you around. And don't forget, December 12th, rowing marathon live on Facebook, A Dad on a Mission, or you go to YouTube, A Dad on a Mission, and check it out. Thank you. I see you on the next Daily C.O.R.E. And this is Richard Wygand, A Dad on a Mission. Thank you.